It's a respectable estate, if only for the fact that I myself belong to it, especially now, when it has ceased to exist. Can it be that there was nothing national in literature either? Alexandra Ivanovna interrupted. I'm not an expert in literature, but Russian literature, in my opinion, is all non-Russian, except perhaps for Lomonosov, Pushkin, and Gogol. 2. First, that's not so little, and second, one of them is from the people and the other two are landowners, laughed Adelida. Quite right, but don't be triumphant. Since up to now only those three of all Russian writers have each managed to say something that is actually his own, not borrowed from anyone, those same three thereby immediately became national. Whoever of the Russian people says, writes, or does something of his own, inalienable and unborrowed, inevitably becomes national, even if he speaks Russian poorly. For me that is an axiom. But it wasn't literature that we started talking about, we were talking about socialists, and the conversation started from them. Well, so I maintain that we don't have a single Russian socialist, we don't have and never had any, because all our socialists also come from the landowners or the seminarians. All our inveterate, much advertised socialists, here as well as abroad, are nothing more than liberals who come from landowners from the time of serfdom. Why do you laugh? Give me their books, give me their tracts, their memoirs, and I undertake, without being a literary critic, to write a most persuasive literary critique, in which I shall make it clear as day that every page of their books, pamphlets, and memoirs has been written first of all by a former Russian landowner. Their spite, indignation, and wit are landowners, even pre-famous Soviet !3, their rapture, their tears, real, perhaps even genuine tears, but, they're landowners. A landowners or a seminarians, again you laugh, and you're laughing, too, Prince? You also disagree? Indeed, they were all laughing, and the prince smiled, too. I can't say so directly yet whether I agree or disagree, the prince said, suddenly ceasing to smile and giving a start, like a caught schoolboy, but I can assure you that I'm listening to you with extreme pleasure. He was all but breathless as he said this, and a cold sweat even broke out on his forehead. These were the first words he had uttered since he sat down. He was about to try looking around, but did not dare. Yevgeny Pavlovich caught his movement and smiled. "I'll tell you one fact, ladies and gentlemen," he went on in the same tone, that is, with extraordinary enthusiasm and warmth, and at the same time almost laughing, perhaps at his own words, "a fact, the observation and even the discovery of which I have the honor of ascribing to myself, and even to myself alone, at least it has not been spoken of or written about anywhere." This fact expresses the whole essence of Russian liberalism of the sort I'm talking about. First of all, what is liberalism, generally speaking, if not an attack, whether reasonable or mistaken is another question, on the existing order of things? Isn't that so? Well, so my fact consists in this, that Russian liberalism is not an attack on the existing order of things, but is an attack on the very essence of our things, on the things themselves, and not merely on their order, not on Russian order, but on Russia itself. My liberal has reached the point where he denies Russia itself, that is, he hates and beats his own mother. Every unfortunate and unsuccessful Russian fact evokes laughter in him and all but delight. He hates Russian customs, Russian history, everything. If there's any vindication for him, it is perhaps only that he doesn't understand what he's doing and takes his hatred of Russia for the most fruitful liberalism. Oh, among us you will often meet a liberal whom all the rest applaud, and who perhaps is in essence the most absurd, the most obtuse and dangerous conservative, without knowing it himself. Some of our liberals, still not long ago, took this hatred of Russia for all but a genuine love of the fatherland and boasted of seeing better than others what it should consist of, but by now they've become more candid, and have even begun to be ashamed of the words love of the fatherland, have even banished and removed the very notion as harmful and worthless. That is a true fact, I'll stand behind it, and, someday the truth had to be spoken out fully, simply, and candidly, but at the same time it is a fact such as has never been or occurred anywhere, in all the ages, among any people, and therefore it is an accidental fact and may go away. I agree. There could be no such liberal anywhere as would hate his own fatherland. How, then, can all this be explained in our country? In the same way as before, that the Russian liberal is so far not a Russian liberal, there's no other way, in my opinion. I take all you've said as a joke, Yevgeny Pavlik, Prince SHCH. Objected seriously. I haven't seen all the liberals and will not venture to judge, said Alexandra Ivanovna, but I have listened to your thought with indignation. You've taken a particular case and made it a general rule, and that means slander. A particular case? Ah. The word has been spoken, Yevgeny Pavlovich picked up. What do you think, Prince, is it a particular case or not? I also must say that I've seen little of and have spent little time with liberals, said the Prince, but it seems to me that you may be somewhat right and that the Russian liberalism you spoke of is indeed partly inclined to hate Russia itself and not only its order of things. Of course, that's only in part of course. It wouldn't be fair to say of all. He faltered and did not finish. Despite all his agitation, he was extremely interested in the conversation. There was a special feature in the Prince, consisting of the extraordinary naivety of the attention with which he always listened to something that interested him, and of the replies he gave when he was addressed with questions about it. His face and even the attitude of his body somehow reflected this naivety, this faith, suspecting neither mockery nor humor. But although Yevgeny Pavlovich had long been addressing him not otherwise than with a certain peculiar smile, now, at the Prince's response, he looked at him somehow very seriously, as if he had never expected such a response from him. So, that's strange, though, on your part, he said, and you really have answered me seriously, Prince? Why, weren't you asking seriously? The other retorted in surprise. Everyone laughed. Trust him, said Adelida, Yevgeny Pavlik always makes fools of everyone. If you only knew what stories he tells sometimes in the most serious way. In my opinion, this is a painful conversation, and should never have been started at all, Alexandra observed sharply. We wanted to go for a walk. Let's go, it's a lovely evening, cried Yevgeny Pavlovich. But, to prove to you that this time I was speaking quite seriously, and, above all, to prove it to the prince, I'm extremely interested in you, prince, and I swear to you that I'm not at all such an empty man as I must certainly seem, though, in fact, I am an empty man, and if you will permit me, ladies and gentlemen, I will ask the prince one last question, out of personal curiosity, and we'll end there. This question occurred to me, as if on purpose, 2 hours ago. You see, Prince, I also sometimes think about serious things. I've answered it, but let's see what the prince says. Mention has just been made of a particular case. This has become a very portentous little phrase among us, one hears it often. Recently everyone was talking and writing about that terrible murder of 6 people by that young man, and of a strange speech by his defense attorney, in which he said that, given the destitute condition of the criminal, it naturally had to occur to him to kill those 6 people. That's not literal, but the meaning, I think, was that or something approaching it. In my personal opinion, the defense attorney, in voicing such a strange thought, was fully convinced that what he was saying was the most liberal, the most humane and progressive thing that could possibly be said in our time,